Jay-Z Productions proudly presents The Boys Podcast. This is Jonathan Todd Ross, the voice of Marek. You better subscribe below, or else I will banish you to the Shadow Realm.
You and I will duel soon enough, and things are beginning to get interesting up here. For it's time to awaken the winged dragon of Ra by reciting the ancient chant and reclaiming my great beast, so I can finish this duel once and for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my name is Joe, also known as JC Productions on YouTube. Welcome back to another episode of The Boys Podcast. Today I'm joined by the wonderfully talented, what's your name, sir?
I'm Jonathan Todd Ross.
Welcome, Jonathan. I got a couple questions for you, if you don't mind.
Right. Fire away.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Okay, so what are you doing during these times of quarantine? You know, like during this whole COVID?
So, I'm extraordinarily lucky. I'm with my wife and my two young daughters in a quiet little house, and I know while I had started in the cartoon world, I now largely am doing audiobooks and some podcasts that I think I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but like narrative podcasts, and I'm able to do it all from the comfort of my basement studio. It sounds, when you say basement studio, it sounds fancy. I assure you it's not. If you can look around me, it's clearly not fancy. I'm in this tiny little warehouse of a room downstairs with a plywood box, with this, all the stuff treated inside. But it's not glamorous, but it's enabled me to continue working during this time when I know a lot of people can't, and I count myself definitely one of the lucky ones. So obviously this all sucks, Corona, but for us, relatively speaking, we're doing okay. It's the one time voiceovers is like a relatively stable job. But yeah, that's what I'm up to.
Oh, so that's what's up with Jonathan. That's what he's doing. Nice. Yeah, I just been doing these podcasts, interviewing people, and yeah, just doing that,
Yeah, it's great to be able to do something from the comfort of. As much as I want to get out of this house, it's nice to be able to, keep doing the thing you like doing, during these insane times.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Now, what made you want to become a voice actor, and who was your biggest inspiration for voice acting?
I would say that I never specifically set out, at least initially, to become a voice actor. I had done, plays and musicals and stuff all throughout growing up, and then through high school, and I went to NYU to their acting program in order to continue doing that. And as happens, for people, an opportunity popped up. Someone I had gone to school with, to college with, was like, "Hey, can you make an audition in like an hour for?" They're trying to cast this tiny role on a dub of Ultraman. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Ultraman is back. But this was whatever would have been the early aughts iteration where it was Japanese actors, the voice taken out, dubbed in NYC, and they were looking for there was this one character that they sort of needed to fill really quickly. I auditioned in the morning. I got the part and I recorded it that afternoon. And, obviously you don't know things at the time, but that was literally the thing that led to ultimately to me being able to record books in a basement throughout a pandemic. Like that's, just the way life goes, where that one job, the director and I hit it off, as his career as a was directing a lot of dubs, and he was directing for a tiny studio that 4Kids Productions had farmed out work to. And they were liking the work he was doing, so they brought him over to get more involved with Yu-Gi-Oh! And when he did that, and they were like, I guess it was season 2, and they were like, we need a new bad guy. He called me up and he was like, hey, you should come in and audition for this. And and then I was cast as Marek, and it was that tiny little thing where I had done a few hours of recording for him on Ultraman, and I was polite, and I showed up on time, and I did my job in the booth, and that led to tons of other really cool stuff that really got rolling with Yu-Gi-Oh!
Wow, I like that. I have you're very talented, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have an inspiration for?
Yeah. So, again, I never. Only in retrospect, like I said, it wasn't like I was like, as a kid, I was always doing voices, and I loved. Probably the broader inspiration when I was a kid, and when I think of like voice actors, had to be Robin Williams. It's funny, we showed Aladdin to my daughter for the first time a couple months ago, and and that's just like one of the best all-time voice performances. Him as the genie, and certainly when I think about it, as a kid, it was sort of that ability to just like bounce from character to character in an instant, and so that was like a big part of growing up, was like that was the thing I thought was cool, being able to do that. And it was trying out voices, and I was never great with impersonations, but I was pretty good with voices, and that's probably where what I would say would be the biggest early influence. The other one was, like anyone else, I was totally into Saturday morning cartoons. And, it's that funny thing where, like, I didn't realize it at the time, but, like, you're always kind of attracted to the bad guy, right? Like, I have these great memories of, Cobra Commander and Skeletor. And, it's so funny that then one day to have an opportunity to be a Saturday, I know here in America, it was literally a Saturday morning cartoon bad guy. I know it wasn't in the original, but like there was something so incredible about that to live a dream that I didn't know I had until it was happening was a really incredible experience. And it was definitely due to like being a kid and just watching those shows and being like both creeped out and fascinated by those villains who were always more interesting than
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Now, what was your favorite role you've portrayed? And can you please do that voice, if you don't mind? Sorry.
Look, I'd be doing. I can't believe I'm going to say this old-timey expression that my grandmother used to say. You want to dance with the one that brung you, is what she would always say. And that you have to be faithful to what got you there. And so I can't not say Marek, right? Marek of Yu-Gi-Oh fame, and Yami Marek. And in my favorite, I forget the title of the episode, my favorite all-time episode was where it was Marek and Yami Marek, and then I got to do like baby Marek, and then kindergarten Marek, and then like kindergarten Yami Marek. Like it was just like a million versions of Marek. So I would have, I certainly have to shout out Marek first. He of the I'm going to banish you to the Shadow Realm. That's my guy. Now that said, after a really long time of doing Marek and literally like ripping open my vocal cords to do it, 4Kids had some other work for me on a show called One Piece, which I was a big fan of. Like, I liked the aesthetic of the show. I thought it was a little like indescribable. Like, it was like pirate. It was like a really just cool, weird show. And I got to play like the Han Solo type, like, I don't care about anything guy. And I loved it. I had so much fun. It didn't hurt my voice at all. I could be in the booth all day. And that character was named Koza. And so, like, I definitely always have a real soft spot for Koza as well.
And then I remember you were also in the Ninja Turtles as, I think, Sid Jones.
I love Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles, it was, again, a 4Kids production back in the day. And what I know was really awesome about Ninja Turtles was, unlike the dubs for Marek and for Yu-Gi-Oh! And for One Piece and, any other show that, if you, on my IMDb page, they were all dubs, and they were great, and it was really fun. And, like, you get, you start hearing the beeps in your sleep to lead you into, your line. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, in addition to being one of the few shows where, like, I watched it when I was younger, and was like a medium comic book fan of it as well. Like, I definitely had some of those comics back in the day. And what was great about Turtles was, as opposed to the dubs, they had a whole bunch of little studios at 4Kids, and then they had one huge one where they could set up like 5 or 6 mics, and they would get a whole bunch of people in there. And because they didn't have to dub anything, because the voice track came first and then the animation, it was the one show where, like, if you had, wanted to read a line, like, you didn't have to match the flap of the character. You could, there was a little room for improv. You could be in the booth with other people and work off of them, which, as an actor, was always, you're always going to get it. Maybe not always, but, like, it's so much easier to give a great performance, or a good performance at least, when you're able to actually work off another person and, respond to their energy and provide that energy in kind. And that's what was always a blast about Turtles. I loved it. I wish the few characters I did, I loved when they would pop up again, or when they would have something for me on that show. Was always so much fun.
Nice. I like that. Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. In addition to it being that thing where it was like the first time where I was like, oh my God, I'm on, like, this show, now I'm on it. Which did get to happen again, where they had a new version of G.I. Joe, and I sort of felt the same about that. Even though I don't even remember what I did on that show. I think I was just go get him. Like, I think it was just something like that. It was still like, I'm on G.I. Joe. Oh my God.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God, my child.
Right, this is actually happening.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Now, if you could pick any role in any movie or TV show, or what would you want to do? Like, is there a role you wanted to do?
I don't. So, yeah. So I do the audiobooks now. I do not. I happily do not consider myself an actor anymore. Back when I was doing it, I definitely loved watching old Jack Lemmon movies. He was, and so it wasn't like one particular role or, like, thing, but I just sort of loved his ability to, like, be incredibly funny and a wonderful dramatic actor, frequently in the same movie. And, it was always kind of the work I was attracted to as an actor. But I wouldn't say there was necessarily one, specific.
Yeah.
Or piece. I was like, oh, I have to play Lear one day. Like it was never for me anything like that.
Okay. Okay. Over the years of your career, do you still keep in touch with co-stars and directors and people you worked with?
A little bit. It's the nicest thing. Some people are who are a lot of my old colleagues from that show, and and what's funny is like some of them I knew really really well. Most I actually didn't because you're not recording with them, so I would see them in passing and I'd be friendly with them, but I didn't have like I wasn't like hanging out with them all the time, which is also one of the weirdest things about voiceover work, because then you would do a show with people for 6 weeks and they'd become your best friends. And I was on Yu-Gi-Oh for years, and like, and I barely met anyone, with rare exceptions. But what I think is really great about a show like Yu-Gi-Oh, is that I love that people are still passionate about it. I don't aggressively pursue the convention circuit, but I love when every once in a while someone asks. Sometimes Konami has every 2 years brings me out for something, and like anytime that happens, it's like the best thing in the world to get to like reconnect with some of those people. Like you get to go to London which is amazing, for like a few days, and it's like, oh, I love that guy. And then like you're hanging out with your old co-star in some city for like a few days, and you get to reconnect in that way, and it's always really nice. Or like like I know I did Yu-Gi-Oh championships a few years back, and like you get to see people, and it's like it is fun. Like it's always nice to reconnect with those folks, even though I don't see them with a lot of frequency.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Now, who was the coolest person you worked with? Like the coolest?
Oh, lots of very cool people. I'll say in my work as a performer, I was very fortunate a very long time ago. Did a few productions of a few workshop productions of Happy Days the musical with the late series creator Gary Marshall, and that was a really uniquely special experience. Only because he's in addition to a pretty storied film career, is a pretty legendary comedy icon and TV icon, and it was just a huge learning experience, and so that was definitely very cool. I would say it was probably the coolest.
You're probably like, oh my goodness, that's like
yeah,
the world.
Yeah, it was it was really neat, and it was that kind of thing where like he's a person. Like I had seen him in things. I was aware that like he created a bunch of shows that I used to watch as a kid, and Pretty Woman and a million other like huge hits. But then like after a few days, it's just like your director, and you would still have that joy of like we're like when someone's like a comedy icon and you're able to make them laugh, that's a real highlight. Yeah.
I really like that. Wow. Okay. Now, what director taught you the most, and was there a director you wanted to work with when you did voiceover?
It's funny. I never. No, I worked with. There wasn't anyone where I like was like, oh, I have to work with that person, and I never really. I wasn't like a intensely hyper aware of like that world of like who was directing what and like who like had a reputation for this and like for getting great work, and like, you know, I did it for many years. I, you know, down the road would do, you know, a whole bunch of different shows at the end of the day. And like most everyone was really nice, and you know, most everyone knew what they were doing, and like you know, the people in, no matter what job you can do, people have the capacity to be jerks, right? Like,
Yeah.
but also some jobs where like there's really not a point in being a jerk. Like, you know, I so like, you know, you show up when you're supposed to show up, and you know, you get your cups of water and you put them in the booth, and like the directors are there and the engineers are like, they're great. Like, I mean, I'm trying to think, I don't want to leave anyone out. Like, Chris Collet directed me in like a million things. I know Darren Dunstan, who's a, you know, also a wonderful guy, directed me on a bunch of stuff, and like they're great. But it was like that kind of thing where like everyone just had a job to do. Everyone knew what the job was. Everyone would like, the directors were all really good at their job. No one was like fumbling to figure out what, you know, like what was required from the scene. Like they knew by then. It was. I don't want to denigrate it by calling it a machine, but it was like a well-oiled machine, and like your job was to do your job. Like you get in there and you say the line, and like if if the delivery of the line wasn't going to work, they would tell you. And if they didn't, if they weren't like, oh, we're going to do it again, like you'd be like, oh, I must have done okay. You know, so there was a lot of trust involved, and you know, I think, you know, I find it to be the same in the audiobook world, where like most everyone's pretty serious about their work, and they try to have a good time doing it. And you know, and there's I know people that do bring their egos to it. I'm sure I had my moments, but like, you know, I think most people, you know, everyone's on the same page. Everyone wants to do a good job and like deliver something that that the fans enjoy and want to watch. And you know, so I don't. I know it's a really roundabout way to answer that question of like what directors I want to work with, but I think my point is like I'm so happy to have worked with the people I worked with, and I don't feel like I left anything on the table. Like the people I've worked with have been great, and I'd work with them in a heartbeat again. I have you know, I have no regrets.
I like the answer. I actually like the answer. Okay. Now, if you never went to voiceover, what would your career be, and what hobbies do you have? What's your hobbies?
Oh man, that's a, like, what would have happened if like that road didn't appear to me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny. It's hard to tell only because you know, I'm a little older than you are, and like when you know, so looking like looking back, you can draw the lines from like this led to this, and this led to this, and this that I thought was a huge success wasn't, and this that I thought was like a huge failure led to some of my biggest successes. Um, and you know, so it is kind of hard to it's kind of hard to separate like what happened in life from like what I wish happened. Um, you know, I would say that uh, you know, I'm a writer and a director as well, and that is sort of a relatively new career that got started in earnest 5 years ago, and it's sort of just like in acting. There have been things that I didn't think were going to matter and ended up being hugely important in the trajectory of my career. And you know, and so, you know, while I suppose I was, when I was a little younger, I was a little more invested in writing and directing. Pretty happy with the way things turned out. And it's funny. My wife is also an ex-actor, um, and is now a very successful author who writes middle grade fiction, and so for middle school age kids. And I think that the trajectory of of how things go, like you can't predict it when you're young. And I don't know. I'm sounding ridiculous now, but like you get the like that's the thing. Like I don't feel like the really quick answer is, I guess, that like I wish I was early on, would have like written more when I was younger, but also when I was younger I wouldn't have had as much to write about. Would have been very focused on dating if I was writing when I was in my early 20s. So that's only so interesting. But yeah, I don't know if that answers that. But
do you have any hobbies? Like, I don't know, like drawing? I don't know.
I mean, it's real, man. Is it hard to have hobbies when you have two small kids in a quarantine? Even though I consider it part of my career, I love going to the movies. I miss it so much. I can't wait until it feels safe to do it again. I imagine I will go a couple months after it feels safe to do it again, just because it's going to take a while to get back. But I'm tired. That would be the thing. I like back when I used to be before I had responsibilities in life. I used to watch a movie a day in the movie theater, sometimes two. It wouldn't matter whether the movie was good or bad. It wouldn't matter whether it was like a huge blockbuster or like a tiny foreign film at a little, a Manhattan art house. Like I would just go to see anything. And so that was my biggest hobby. It remains, but like now I'm like watching Pieces of a Woman on Netflix like 10 minutes at a time every night before bed. It's a really bad way to watch movies, but it's like the only way that I get like my little fix of that hobby is like that tiny little bit every day.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the time is really just taken up with, keeping the kids occupied in the house from burning down.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Now, do you have a favorite band and type of music?
I think I'd probably say of all time, it's going to be a close call. Probably Stevie Wonder. Love Stevie Wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the one I go back to the most. Just tons of happiness.
Did you hear he might be? Because I was reading like an article. Did you hear he's like moving out of the USA? Did you hear that? Stevie Wonder. Yeah, he told Oprah that apparently. I was like, huh?
So it's also funny. It's like, Stevie, it's not the best time. I would just, Stevie, stay where you are. Just ride this out. We'll deal with this in a few months, Stevie. Just don't stay safe, please.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Do you have a favorite sports and favorite teams?
I'm from New Jersey, outside of Philadelphia. So I was an all Philly sports guy. I don't, again, it's that kind of thing where like after my kids were born, I've been like a little less. I don't always get the news updates right away. I'm not like sports radio angry like I used to be in a decade ago, but like where I was like, oh, come on, how could you make that trade? And like now I'm like, what's going on? And like, it's great because my dad is still, he's still up on all the happenings. So like, he's always happy to, like one of the funniest things that he'll do is, it's very, very difficult to sit down and watch a football game. But he will he will email me score updates.
Oh my goodness.
As if I don't have access to the internet, and it's very adorable. And I've never stopped him because it clearly makes him very happy. So I don't plan on telling him. Do you want me to send you updates? Yes, Dad. Please do. You get it with his commentary. Oh, the defense looks so sloppy today. But yeah, I look forward to the day. My daughter is she's into soccer. I hope that sticks around. She my brother-in-law has been staying with us for a while, and she'll sit down and watch Manchester United with him, and I'm hoping that for her, soccer becomes a thing. Both playing it and watching it would be super fun. And then also, like, once she gets involved in sports, then it's like, oh, well, let's sit down and we'll watch a game. Like right now, we're too busy, playing pretend.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Do you have a favorite food, and why is it your favorite?
The why is indescribable, but man, cinnamon rolls. I got a real cinnamon roll problem, man. And they're too good. The why, I don't know.
Why not?
It's comforting. It feels like love. I don't know. They're great. Just give me a cinnamon roll anytime. Yeah, the answer is always yes.
Nice.
To my physical detriment, but still, just give me that cinnamon roll.
Okay. Here, I'm just kidding. Okay. Now, hopefully, when things get back to normal, sooner rather than later, do you have any projects or anything in the works?
It's I think it's really just a matter of like whether the places that used to record in person want to go back to recording in person. Once this is all over, I just want to go and hug a lot of friends. But I don't think there's necessarily anything that I'm waiting until this passes to start. Like I said, it's one of the it's weird, but it's one of the weird benefits of our life here is that, like, besides doing normal things in the world, like, our life looks really the same. Like, I was recording at home before this happened. I'm recording at home now. The way our life looks different is we just get to go places and hug people. And I can't wait until that's safe. My folks got their second dose just last week, so we're very, and my in-laws too. So like we're thrilled that pretty soon everyone will get to see their grandkids without the threat of a terrible death. So like that's the project that I'm looking forward to when this is over, getting those kids back to their grandparents.
The happy family memories.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now, what is your advice you'd give to people who want to become like an actor or voice actor, voice actress?
I don't. So there's not a linear path, and there's not really a linear path for anyone. The good news for anyone starting out is there are fewer barriers to entry. The steps to becoming a voice actor were even lower back when I was, when I started. It was still like someone 20 years older than me would have been like, oh yeah, in my day. But like, it really was like things were changing. It was a little easier for me to get in because of the technology. Like I said, I do about an audiobook a week from my home studio. And even if you go back, 3 decades, I don't know exactly when when it was, but like they were still recording on like literal tape not too long ago. And like now, I mean, you could get a setup if you're starting out there. You could get a setup for a decent setup for not a lot of money, especially if you already have like a good computer. That there's free software online. The components are, the mic is the big expense. Like I never want anyone to have credit card debt, but like you can minus the computer, you could probably get, if you have a quiet closet, you can get everything done for under $2,000. So and then there are places online where you can put yourself out there, right? Like there are lots of different places that will host a profile for people interested in audiobooks. ACX is a really great resource where you can audition for books without being in the union for a lower rate to get your feet wet. You can, so you are able to get voiceover experience in a way. The flip side of that is like a lot of the things that have always been true are still true. You have to show up on time. You have to be nice to deal with. There's no reason to be. There's never any reason to be a jerk, but there's no reason to be a jerk in the voiceover world. It's a very different pace than like a lot of other things that happen in the arts. So I think like anything else, you have to have some aptitude for it. But I know lots of people with aptitude that were, their attitude knocked them out of the game. I know lots of people without a ton of aptitude and just a lot of perseverance that just like worked until they had the aptitude. That they did all the other things. So I would say, I think it's just a really long way to say that, like, if you're going to make that literal investment in yourself in that career, listen, try to listen to what happens in voiceovers and cartoons. Try to learn where, you can just Google stuff and learn about how dubs are done and how all those things happen. And I think this is actually the really important thing. There are people will actually listen to stuff. It's really, really easy for a casting director or a producer to, I would be wary of just like cold, like no one's going to open a file if you just send it. But like there are research, you can just Google your favorite studios, your favorite audiobook, publishers. You can find that information out there. You can email those people. They might get back to you. They might not. If they don't be a jerk about it. Just wait a month and email them again. Eventually they'll get back to you, almost definitely. And they're going to want to listen to something. If it's for audiobooks, they're going to want to listen to like, a few minutes of you reading the book, your favorite book. If you're, more interested in commercial voiceover, they're going to want to hear a demo, which would just be like a minute of you reading ads. Like you could make a professional one. Again, you could also put something, they'll listen. Agents will listen. Casting directors will listen. They might throw it, delete the file almost instantaneously, but like work hard, get better, send your stuff out into the world. If you get rejected and you still really, really want it, keep working hard and doing it. And then I don't want to, it's probably too much advice. I don't want to put, look, for me, yeah, I went to school as an actor and I found a niche and then that niche led to other niches, and now I'm literally in a niche, a cut out little room to record audiobooks, and I love it. So I was on a track in the performing arts to do this, but like if there's a huge degree of luck, like it is that thing where like someone called me up and was like, hey, can you go to that audition? If the answer was no, if I was like, oh man, I have to go to work today, I'm not saying don't go to work, but like if that was my answer, like I none of that other stuff would have happened. And that's going to, no matter who it is, that's probably going to be the case. I know one person in my life who I did a show with not too long ago, who was like a huge Pokemon fan and was like, I'm going to be on Pokemon. It was when I met him, he was a very young guy, and like I no longer at that point knew the people who were doing Pokemon, and like then it's like one day I see on Facebook and like he did it, and again, like he was an actor, he was working at it, he persevered, he sought them out, he wasn't weird or creepy, he was polite and kind, and I'm sure I don't know the story, but he probably was like rejected a whole bunch of times before they were like, oh, that one's the right fit. I mean, we didn't even get into it, but like I was fired and rehired for Marek like 3 different times, just because they weren't entirely sure what they wanted at the beginning, and they went back and forth with a whole bunch of stuff, and eventually it ended up back in my lap. And again, it was like, if that first time I got fired, I was like, well, you like like that would have been the end of that. So like don't be that guy. Like you never know. Literally 2 weeks I was like so happy, and then I was so crushed, and then 2 weeks later I was so happy again, and then like that continued for a really long time. So don't I mean this in a very grounded way, like to a degree, you got to let the universe take care of it. And I just mean that, like, you do your job, and then, like, somewhere along the line, you'll get a shot, and it's your job to not blow it by messing up the stuff that's in your control. Showing up on time, being prepared, being easygoing, and being totally okay with things not going your way.
If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Then they'll bring you back again for the next time. They'll be like, oh, I like that guy. It wasn't right for this, but I'll bring him back for this. Or I'll bring her back for this.
Like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, right?
Yeah. And like, you can only do your job. Everything else will, take care of itself. But yeah, go out, and if you're really serious about that, you can go out and get the gear today. Probably, I said $2,000. You could probably do it, especially when you're starting out for under $1,000 probably. And there are really good resources online to like, here's what you need. In fact, I know on the ACX website, they actually have some tutorials on like, here's how you would do it. It's, even though it's specifically for audiobooks, it's not. And you're like, I don't know if I've done anything in my particular setup right now for animation, but like it's the same. And it's the same, it's just animation's just louder. Like, you're using the same stuff.
I like that.
Incredibly lengthy advice.
It's all good. More advice the better, the more the merrier, All good. Okay. Now, is there anything you like to promote and shout out? I can link down below in the description.
Yeah, sure. Why not? 2 things. If you are in, if you're in middle school, if you know someone in middle school, or you just like reading good books, even if they're meant for a younger audience, my wife's latest book comes out on paperback April 14th. It's out in hardcover now. It's called The Prettiest. It's a book about sexual harassment in middle school, and was recently named one of 17 Magazine's 35 books to read before you graduate high school. So there you go. And then that's for my wife. Her name's Bridget Young. I'm going to shout out for myself. I'm really proud of a short film I directed a pretty long time ago at this point, early on. But it's up on Dust. If your viewers are familiar, there's a really great sci-fi channel, on Roku or online. They have a YouTube channel. They have a ton of great, fun sci-fi stuff. Some scary, some funny. Mine's funny, hopefully. Called The Universe of Scotch and Haagen-Dazs, and you should check it out. It's pretty much features my retirement as a face actor. I directed it, I was in it, and I never did it again. But it's 10 minutes long, and hopefully a lot of fun, and it's I'm thrilled that it found a really good home in Dust.
Well, I'll also link down, if you want me to, your Twitter and Instagram, so people can follow you.
You bet.
And then help you out. Well,
I'm boring. I'm too boring on Instagram. I mean, I guess I don't know why I'm telling you not to follow me. Don't follow me on Instagram. No, I'm more interesting on Twitter. I don't know. More cantankerous on Twitter. Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, and Jonathan, for being an awesome and amazing guest. Thank you.
I'm thrilled to be a part. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody, and stay awesome, Jonathan.
You too.
Thank you.